Hello and welcome to these short videos about how we can create our robot head. Now this is a continuation from the lesson the other day where we planned and sketched out our modelling plan with all our technical detail and our sizes. So it's important that we do it in the right order, that we don't kind of jump into this and then go back and do our preliminary work, because by its very name and very nature it's preliminary, so it comes before. So I'm going to start off, and I've made a new part. I've started a new design and I've given it a name and I've saved it, hit the save button, and I've saved it into a new folder. So all the editing I do on this, I'm going to save into that folder. Now it's generated this kind of first kind of feature up in here in my, what I would call my modeling tree. And you can see down here in the history bar, there's nothing down here at all, so I haven't done anything yet at all. Now I know from my preliminary work that I'm going to have this head and it's going to have two bits. It's going to have a left hand side and I'm going to split it into two bits, into a right hand side as well. So I'm going to create a left and a right hand side first of all. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new component. And I'm going to give that a name. I'm going to call that head. What would I call the left one? I could call that head left, I think. So I've created this. Now when I do that, this top one stops being active. You can see the little radio button becomes grayed out, and it thinks that and knows that I'm working on this one because I've just created it. So I'm going to start and make my head. So I know from my planning that this is going to be a loft, and it's going to be 3 planes, and it's going to have the sizes I can see in front of me here. So I'm going to start by my first sketch on the front plane. So I'm going to sketch on that front plane, and I'm going to use a rectangle, and I'm going to use a center rectangle, and I'm going to start it in the middle to keep it nice and organized. Now we can always go back and constrain that to the center, etc. And you'll notice I'll probably do a few things that you probably don't agree with, and I apologize for that because I'm quite new to this software. I've only been using it for about 7 weeks or something like that in anger. I've been playing around with it for a year or so, but really just starting out with my teaching of it. Now I've created my plane here, so I use my A, tab down, and I generated this 100. So I'm quite happy, nice round numbers, and I'm going to finish that sketch. So I'm going to create another couple of sketch planes using my construction. So from that one, again, I'm going to keep them nice and ordered. So that's probably too big for my drawing. I haven't got a size there for it, but I'm going to say it's going in that direction. It's a minus 25 for the first one, and I'm happy with that. And I'm going to offset another plane from that one. And let's see, about there, I think. So that's let's make it minus 75, keep it nice and easy. And I've got my 3 planes, 1, 2, 3. So I need to sketch on those planes now. So I'm going to take my sketch tool and onto that second plane. I'm going to use my first plane as a reference. Now this time I'm going to use my center rectangle, my 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to sketch that out. And I want to snap onto about there. So let's have a little look at sizes of that. So I'm going to take my size and I'm going to drag that out. So from there to there, it's 100. As I know, that's not what I wanted to do. It's quite interesting. I'll go back into my history and I can edit that sketch again. Let's have a little look at it this time again. From there to there, 70. I'm happy with 70. Yeah, I'll go with 70. And I'm going to sketch onto my last one. So sketch onto that one. And I can see my 2. Now this time I'm probably going to use this thing. Should I just do that and round it with fillet? No, I think I'll just use my slot. So I'm going to use my center slot, and I'm going to snap. I'll snap. See how it snaps? Gives me a little green square. Somewhere in about there. So let's go for a nice round number. 40, 35. Let's go for 30 in there. And I'm going to drag that up. So let's make that 30 by 30. So I'm quite happy with that. Now I could go in there. Now the minute you see how it's kind of got all my constraints pop up onto there. So I'm quite happy with that constraint. Now there'll be lots of people say, well, it's not fully constrained. It's not black. You know, if I wanted to fully constrain it, I would have to go back in. Let's go back in and do that. So if I want to fully constrain it, it needs some more dimensions on it. So from there to there, that's 27 points. So let's make that, well, let's stick with the 30 theme. And 30 theme, now we can see that they've gone black, so they're fully constrained. And let's finish that up there. So these aren't constrained, but I can go back in and constrain them if I really wanted to. The reason we would do that is because things tend to jump about. If you're modeling things and sometimes you grab the wrong thing and move it. Now, in our case, this is good about the robot, it's not all that important. But if you were producing something, an expensive component that had to fit with something else, a little mistake, and then it goes off to be manufactured, it could cost you a lot of cash. So I've got my 3 planes, and now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to take away that line there. I don't know what it is. So I told you, maybe this. I'm back into my history tree. That's that dimension, that's what it is. Okay, so I'm going to now create my loft. So my loft, I'm going to loft from this surface. Now it brings up this menu manager and it lets me select the order that I want this to go into. So when I select it, it automatically generates the loft for me. Now if I have a little look at that, I'm quite happy with that. It's quite a nice little sweeping loft in there. It has all these kind of options that I can go for with guide rails and everything like that, but we can look at that in a different video. Now these points I can actually move if I wanted to alter the shape a little bit. Do I want to do that? No, I'm just going to keep it the way it was. Oops, I've got rid of the feature rather than just the command. So let's go back and do that again. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm quite happy with that as my loft. So I've got my first body there that I quite like. Yeah, quite like that. So really that's a feature that we could use at Advanced Hire, but it's really just a higher feature. So I'm gonna. This is a little bit clumsy. This, it's quite a solid transition from this surface to this surface. So I'm going to put a little fillet on that. Now the first of the kind of real advanced higher things we're going to look at is the type of fillet. Now we up at higher and National 5 we kind of put on a constant radius on our fillet. Now it's really easy. I don't know how this actually got into advanced higher. I'm going to choose my surface and I'm going to choose a variable radius. Now it gives me these 2 arrows. If I click on that first arrow, that then becomes the driving point of the radius, and I can set that to a different size. So you can see that is what, 19. So let's make that a nice 20. And let's go up to the other sides as well. Let's modify that. So again, the fillets. So fillets variable, it should be. So click on start, and let's give me the option 20. Quite like that. Now I don't think I can change select edges now, so I have to do these 1 by 1 with this. Now I think I'll put a fillet, same fillet on there. Hopefully it'll generate it. Let's have a little look. There we go. So I'm happy with that. So if we look at that, that's actually 2 of our techniques that we need for our advanced hire. Now we're looking for, I think it's 5, but we've got the loft and we've got these fillets. Yeah. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add some detail into this before I make it hollow. Because obviously if I make it hollow now and then go to model on it, I have problems with the wall thickness changing and everything like that. So really the shell is kind of almost not the last thing I want to do, but it's getting towards the end of it. So let's have a little look. So let's make some details on here. I think the more detail you have, the more it looks like a manufactured object rather than just something you've quickly riled up. So I'm going to offset that. So again, just use my offset tool. I'm going to keep it to a nice size. So I'm going to offset that to 2 like that. And I'm going to make this have a little indentation in there. So again, just a National 5 kind of thing. I'm quite happy with that, and I'm just going to do a very simple extrude back into my object, cut it out, subtract the material. Let's keep it nice and regular, so -2. And let's do the same thing at the front as well. So I'm just going to go in and sketch on that plane, and I'm going to offset that edge. Let's make it a bit bigger this time, so it's a bit chunkier at the front. -5. Happy with that. Yeah. Finish my sketch, and I'm going to do my extrude back in as well. So let's keep it so it's the same. So -5, and let's make it a little bit more. And let's go back. What do you think? Look at my drawing. I've got a recess. I don't have a size for it. I'm going to go back in quite a way this time. Gives me enough, because I know that I've got a camera and a lens to go in here, and it also makes it kind of like almost a little bit more menacing. It kind of gives me the kind of overall hood kind of shape. Now the problem is, if I go back too far, see how it's then starting to impact on my surface at the back. So let's make that -10. Okay. So I've got my first little bit done. So if I look through the tree, let's watch this again. So let's have a little look. This is one of the things I like about this. I can just play the history. So I started off with my sketches, did my loft, my regular fillets, and then some extrude and subtracts front and back. Now I can see that this video has got to 11 minutes, so I'm going to stop it there, and I will maybe join me again in the next one, and we'll look at how we can take this a little bit further. Thank you.